Your life is always moving in the direction of your strongest thoughts. Think about that for a moment. What if your biggest battle isn't out there, but in here, in your mind? Welcome to Winning the War in Your Mind by Groeschel. A practical guide to rewiring your brain, replacing lies with truth, and finally taking control of the narrative in your head. In this video, I'll break down 10 life-changing lessons that will transform how you think, live, and lead. Lesson 1. Your thoughts shape your reality. Greg begins with a fundamental truth. What you think determines who you become. If you're constantly thinking, I'm not good enough or I'll never succeed, your brain wires itself to believe those lies. He explains the concept of cognitive bias, where your mind filters information based on what you already believe. So if you think negatively, your brain will find more reasons to justify that negativity. But here's the good news. Just like a computer can be reprogrammed, your mind can too. This process is called renewing your mind, inspired by spiritual teachings but backed by neuroscience. Through intentional repetition of positive truths, journaling, and thought audits, you can begin to identify toxic thoughts and replace them with empowering ones. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about fighting back against mental strongholds with strategy. If you change your thoughts, you'll eventually change your life. Lesson 2. Recognize the lies you believe. The mind is a battlefield, and many of us are losing, not because we're weak, but because we've accepted lies as truth. I'm broken. I always mess up. I can't change. Craig calls these mental strongholds deeply held beliefs that feel like truth but are built on deception. These strongholds are often formed by trauma, failure, or even casual words spoken in childhood. The danger? Once they're embedded, they become your lens for everything. This is why the first step in winning the war is to name the lie. Journaling is a powerful tool here. Write down what you're believing and then ask, is this 100% true? Would I say this to a friend? Craig encourages us to challenge every mental loop that doesn't align with truth. He even uses the metaphor of a courtroom. If your belief was on trial, could it stand under cross-examination? You can't defeat what you don't define. So dig deep and expose the lie. Lesson 3. Replace lies with truth. Once you've identified the lie, the next step is replacing it with God's truth or any truth that's empowering and rooted in reality. Craig introduces the concept of a truth declaration, a sentence or phrase you repeat daily until your brain begins to believe it. For example, if the lie is, I'm always anxious, the declaration might be, I am not controlled by fear, I trust in peace. Sounds simple? It is, but it's also scientific. Repeating truth daily rewires your neural pathways. It creates new mental maps. Over time, your default thought changes. This isn't about affirmations for the sake of ego. It's about speaking truth until it becomes your mental reality. Craig advises putting your declarations where you'll see them, on your mirror, your phone lock screen, or even in your journal. Repetition equals reinforcement. And when truth is reinforced long enough, lies lose their power. Lesson 4. Your mind can be renewed. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But Craig makes it clear. Renewing doesn't happen by accident. It's a daily practice. Imagine your brain as a field. Every thought you think becomes a path. The more you walk it, the more permanent it becomes. Want to change your life? Start walking a new path. Craig teaches a method called the thought audit, where you score your thoughts each day on a scale from 1 to 10, negative to positive. This helps you measure your mental health, not just guess it. Then, replace every negative thought with a better one. Over time, you're doing more than changing your mind. You're transforming your identity. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows. Don't underestimate the power of a small mental shift repeated daily. Transformation is a process, but it's one worth showing up for. Lesson 5. Create a new mental script. Think of your mind like a movie script. Every time something happens, your brain pulls out a script and responds the same way. Criticism? That means I'm a failure. Delay? That means I'm doomed. Craig challenges us to write new scripts, new interpretations for the same situations. One way to do this is to practice cognitive reframing, the art of choosing a new perspective. Example. Instead of saying, I have to work late, say, I get to build something meaningful. Same situation, completely different mindset. Reframing teaches your brain that it's not about what happens to you, but how you interpret it, and over time, new scripts become your default. Craig emphasizes that Jesus himself reframed constantly. Where the world saw death, he saw resurrection. That's the power of mental reframing. It doesn't change your reality. It changes how you live through it. Lesson 6. Practice gratitude as a weapon. Gratitude isn't just a good habit. In Craig's words, it's a weapon against anxiety, fear, and despair. When your mind is filled with worry, it's usually focused on what's missing or what could go wrong. Gratitude shifts that focus to what's present and what's going right. And the best part? The brain can't hold gratitude and anxiety at the same time. Craig recommends keeping a daily gratitude journal where you list just 3 things you're thankful for every morning. Over time, this trains your brain to scan for blessings instead of dangers. Gratitude also builds mental resilience. Even in storms, you'll find yourself saying, "But at least I still have," or "I'm growing through this." That's how warriors think. You don't need a perfect life to be grateful. You need a focused mind. Gratitude doesn't remove your problems, but it rewires your perspective so they no longer control you. Lesson 7. Name and tame your emotions. Too often, we're led by feelings we don't fully understand. Craig teaches that emotions are like signals. They're real, but they're not always reliable. If your mind is filled with negative beliefs, your emotions will follow suit. That's why it's crucial to name your emotion. I'm feeling rejected. I'm overwhelmed. I'm angry. Naming it disarms it. Then ask, what thought is driving this emotion? Maybe it's, I always mess things up. That's where the war begins. Not with the feeling, but with the belief beneath it. Craig says to talk to your emotions, not just listen to them. Preach truth back to your feelings. Say, I may feel rejected, but I am loved. I may feel anxious, but I'm not alone. When you speak truth into your emotions, you stop being a slave to them and start becoming a master of your mind. Lesson 8. Silence the noise around you. Modern life is loud. Social media, news, notifications, everyone shouting, "You're not enough." Craig argues that to win the war in your mind, you must turn down the world's volume. That may mean logging off social media, turning off constant news updates, or spending intentional time in silence. Why? Because your thoughts reflect your inputs. Garbage in equals garbage out. He recommends scheduling daily quiet time even if it's just 10 minutes. No phone, no music. Just sit with your thoughts and write down what's running through your head. You'll be surprised what surfaces. Silence helps you hear what truly matters. Your thoughts, your faith, your vision. It also gives space for intentional thinking, prayer, and creativity. If your mind feels chaotic, maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's just overstimulated. Learn to turn down the noise and you'll hear your own clarity rise. Lesson 9. Surround yourself with truth tellers. You are never meant to fight alone. Craig emphasizes the importance of community in renewing your mind. Left on your own, you'll drift back into old patterns, but with accountability, encouragement, and truth-telling friends, you'll stay on course. Who you surround yourself with determines what you normalize. If your friends are always anxious, cynical, or negative, guess what? You will be too. That's why Craig suggests finding or forming a truth circle. People who will lovingly call out lies you're believing, remind you of your progress, and speak truth when you forget it. That could be a small group, a mentor, or even an online community. Isolation breeds deception, but connection fosters growth. You don't just need cheerleaders, you need people who will challenge you, in love, to keep fighting the mental battle with truth. Lesson 10. Live from identity, not feelings. At the core of Craig's message is this: you are not what you feel, you are who God says you are. Too often, we live from emotion instead of from identity. Feel tired? You quit. Feel scared? You hide. But when you anchor your identity, in truth, in purpose, in unchanging values, you live with stability, no matter the storm. Craig suggests writing a personal identity statement, something like, I am a disciplined, resilient person who follows truth over feelings, and repeat it daily. Why? Because feelings lie, but identity doesn't. You don't need motivation to act. You need clarity on who you are. Act like the person you want to become, and eventually you'll become that person. Identity fuels consistency, and consistency builds transformation. The war is already won. You just have to start thinking like it. So there you have it, 10 powerful lessons from Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel. This book isn't just motivational, it's a battle plan for anyone who's tired of being a prisoner to their thoughts. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and win that war in your mind.